But any more nuggets of knowledge that you have for our newbie attorneys or our veteran attorneys, any other advice that you
Yeah.
have for them about deciding to take these cases that involve medical records?
Well, I think I may have mentioned it, but don't let the medical specials guide you entirely as to whether or not you're going to take a case. Look at how your client's been harmed. There's sometimes people get hurt and there is no way for them, to go through physical therapy. They're just going to have to suffer pain. And our jury instructions instruct a jury that a jury must award fair and reasonable compensation for someone's pain. So really, get to know those clients if you can. I mean, I've spent, weeks can be hectic. So, I know it's our weekends, but having a client in your office on a Saturday or on Zoom these days, sometimes, where you don't feel like the emails and phone calls are off the hook, so to speak. Spend time with your client and find out how they've been harmed. That's what we're about, trying to get people reasonably compensated for harm. And oftentimes that harm has both an emotional, psychological component. Look at, like before and after. What was your life before this? What is your life after? How has your life been changed? So while medical records are critical, they don't always tell the whole story. So get to know your client and make sure that if they need that help, that they're getting that medical or psychological help that they need. It's easy to find doctors on a lien. Not as easy to find psychologists or psychiatrists on a lien. So that's something to try to broaden your network or get them on a sliding scale. But if they're having a hard time, you don't want them going off the deep end and doing something stupid that's going to unravel their case. Make sure they're getting the help that they need. And one final thing, when you get those doctor reports, especially when you've sent your client to someone, usually the last paragraph or two ends up having a bunch of recommendations for what tests your client should have or what follow-up treatment they should have. And, make sure you read it to the end and make sure that your client is following those doctor's recommendations. If the doctor's recommended they get this treatment and then nobody thinks about it, the client doesn't think about it, and then the treatment doesn't happen, that's something that could be used against you at trial. Well, how hurt was the client really, or how interested were they really in getting better if they didn't follow what the doctor's recommendations were? So pay attention to that and make sure your doctor, your patient, our client, the doctor's patient, is getting the help that they need according to the doctor's recommendations.